Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to an early edition of the Humanity Matters Show. I am your host, Philip Fletcher, and today we are doing Ask Dr. Phil. This is an opportunity for me to respond to emails, questions that I have received, but also if you've got a question, right, it could be on anything: faith, philosophy, leadership, social issues, anything that's going on in regards to sports, politics, comic books, movies, all that kind of good stuff. Just lighthearted type questions. I want to take those as well as the hard ones. So, hey, shoot me a question in the comment section. And if you ask me a question, right, and I read it, I'm going to give you a swag bag today. So if you show up, I'm at Round Mountain Coffee today from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And so if you come here and ask me a question, I'll make sure to give you your gift directly. Or if you ask me a question in the comment section, I will take that question and then I will hit you up to get your address and I will personally bring this gift to you because I want to be generous. If you have followed me for any period of time, you know I like to end this show with be loved, be kind, be generous, and be courageous. So I think it's very important for us to practice generosity because in doing so, it's a level of humility, but it's also an opportunity to be charitable to individuals. Here's the other thing, just as a note, I am using Wi-Fi, so maybe a little sketchy and spotty, but nonetheless, hey, be patient with me. Hey, share this, tag somebody who may want to ask me a question, anything like that. I would be grateful, and I will take their question again. All right, so just a couple of things. If you have not connected with me before, you can connect with me on any of my social media, whether that is Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Put in my name, Humanity Matters. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, you can go over to my website, philipfletcher.org. If you're not a video person, you can find this show and others like it on my podcast. Just go over wherever you get Anchor.fm or Spotify, Google, your Apple podcast. Just put in the name Humanity Matters. You'll see my face, right? And subscribe there. And you can listen to previous shows to include Community Matters one-on-one, those personal sit-down interviews that I have with a variety of different people. So coming up on Wednesday, November 10th, all right, I've been talking about this, is your opportunity to support Hope Village. Hope Village is the initiative that my nonprofit has got going on to provide small homes for individuals here in Conway, Arkansas, who are experiencing homelessness. And that's for individuals, families, and veterans. I'm a veteran myself, right? So we are in the midst of our building project right now. We still got funds to raise. This is not done for free. This is done because we've got skilled individuals who've got the intellect and the hands to be able to build these houses. But we also need money, right? So this is your opportunity to support by attending this comedy show. If you live in Conway or the surrounding area, Little Rock, heck, if you live in Fayetteville, drive down. It's Veterans Day the next day, right? You may have a holiday, so come on down, 7 p.m. Hear Bob Smiley give some great comedy. Jeff Standridge, he is going to be the MC for that night. I'm going to do a little bit of presentation stuff, but come here, some great humor. Thank you to our sponsors, Think Coffee. Thank you to our sponsors, Ferguson Realty, Chick-fil-A, and others. And thank you to UCA Reynolds Performance Hall. Where can you get those tickets? Hey, you can get the tickets for the comedy show. Just go to uca.universitytickets.com and you can purchase your tickets. And it's family friendly. Bring your youth group. If you don't go to religious group, just bring your family, right? Bring your veterans group. Bring your whole political campaign. I don't care, right? But let's try to pack this place out to support a good cause, to do something new in Conway, to provide, what's going on, Luke? To provide housing for the homeless here in Conway. And hopefully it can be something that spreads. So go to that website, uca.universitytickets.com, or you can go to the Hope Village Coho website as well, and it'll take you to the place that you can purchase tickets. So appreciate y'all very much. All righty. So again, this is Ask Dr. Phil. So if you show up to Round Mountain, right, between now and 6 o'clock, hey, ask me a question. I got a gift for you. Pull out a good stuff over here, right? I want to be generous. Or if you ask me a question as well online, whether Facebook Live or on YouTube, has to happen right now, right? I will deliver the gift to you as well. All right. So let's get to some questions. Okay. So our first question comes from Elizabeth, who asked, what are your thoughts on the infrastructure bill in Congress? All righty. Infrastructure bill in Congress. So just so you know, I just take these questions as they come. So this question was early on, so I treat that one first, and the most recent question, it'll be treated last, right? Thank you, Elizabeth, for that question. So the infrastructure bill, right? It has moved from trillions of dollars, I think 3.2, and it's almost down to like 1.7 now, right? And the Republicans have chosen like, hey, we're just gonna sit back and watch the Democrats hash this out, right? So you've got right now Democrats trying to figure out how much money to spend, not just in this infrastructure bill, but according to Joe Biden, quote unquote, a transformative bill that'll be transformative for America in regards to new social programs that they also want to start. So what you've got happening right now within the Democratic Party in the House and in the Senate, right? You've got this tug of war that is happening between the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, and that would be like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Ilhan Omar, and others, right? That crew. And then you've got your more old school type Democrats, right? Who are like, yeah, I don't know about that. That's a lot of money, especially as we got an election year coming up. Hey, white chocolate mocha, extra mocha from Round Mountain Coffee. Awesome. So now in this bill, there's been things that's been mentioned, these bills that's been mentioned, and you're not hearing anything about the infrastructure bill. What you're hearing about is the wrangling about universal pre-K, right? Free college tuition to your universities. There's this whole thing about the IRS and looking at $600 or more, right, going into bank accounts. They say they're trying to target the wealthy, but why $600 if you're trying to target like the ultra wealthy? I don't know. All right. And there's other things. All right. So there's been from West Virginia, Senator Joe Manchin, and then from Arizona, I forget her name. She got like chased in her bathroom where she teaches at Arizona State University. But here's the thing about what happened with that senator. So that female senator, she's a Democrat, and she got chased in the bathroom by a progressive Democrat, right? Like filming her going into the bathroom, like for real. So that's what's interesting about this whole thing. Like, so the Republicans have stepped back. They're going to sit back and watch the Democrats basically tear at each other, right? So it's gone from this massive amount of money down to the smaller amount of money that they're negotiating, right? The Republicans are kind of sitting back, but then also you're kind of seeing how Democrats within their party are like treating one another, which is interesting. So again, the question is, what is this about? You got this large pot of money that more than likely that money is going to be paid through taxes and also printing money. All right, let's be for real. Okay. Because here's the other things that are being talked about. One, they're trying to track down all of this money that is like not being paid by the ultra wealthy. They're not paying their fair share. So the case is being made that there's not enough money, right? The case is being made that since there's not enough money to pay for these types of things, we're going to have to do these things to recoup this type of money. All right. So that's providing some of the rationale behind the whole IRS $600 thing. But we already know we didn't have enough money for all the COVID stuff that happened. Right. And then, Joe Biden has famously come out in the last few months and said that this infrastructure and this other bill is going to cost zero, which I don't understand, because anything that costs something means you're going to have to pay for it and you have to get that money from somewhere. Right. So, they're my opinion, okay? I don't think they're really concerned about infrastructure. What they're really concerned about is growing the size of government. Now, here's the reality. If you start any of these type of entitlement type programs, once you get it started, there's no way that you're going to end it. Because anybody that comes after this is going to try to reduce the amount of money, right? It's going to be looked at as, oh, you hate the poor, or you're racist, or you're against women, so on and so forth, right? Even though it's financially not sustainable, and if it crashes, it's going to hurt those very people anyway, right? And it's going to be difficult to end any type of program like this, because as you get more and more people involved and signed up, you're running headlong into a very significant problem. And typically this is going to fall on the Republican side, right? And really that's what the pattern has been year after year after year. So more than likely, something's going to get passed. I'd be shocked if something doesn't get passed, especially you have a Democratic president, you have the Democrats have the House and they have the Senate, right? I'd be shocked if nothing gets passed, right? And if something gets passed and there's entitlement programs in there, especially new ones, when the Republicans more than likely take the House next year, because traditionally that's what's going to happen, right? Man, them Republicans going to be like, see, you're against people's education, you're against pre-K and helping kids, so on and so forth. What did Admiral Akbar say in Return of the Jedi? It's a trap. It's a trap. So, hey, Elizabeth, thank you for the question. You'll be getting a gift. All right, appreciate you very much. Hey, this is Ask Dr. Phil. If you got a question, send a question my way. You send a question my way, I read it live, especially today. I'm going to give you a gift. If you show up today at Round Mountain Coffee, all right, ask me a question, I'll give you a gift between now and 6 o'clock. Seeking to be generous. Like I said, be loved, be kind, be generous, and courageous. All right. So let's get to our next question. All right, let me get here. Bring it up. Here we go. All right. I watched your video about Conway and the money they want to spend on art. Why are they not using that money to help people? Okay. So, if you live in Conway, do you remember the Christmas tree? All right. If you live in Conway, do you remember the Christmas tree and the whole thing that happened with that? Right. And I had to do some education about that. So, I live in Conway, Arkansas. All right. And specifically, there's a number of ways in which our city government has revenue coming in. Right. So, sales tax, right, is one way. Okay. Another way revenue is coming in is that they apply for grants, state level, federal level, money comes in as well. All right. There's also this thing called what I affectionately call the hamburger tax, the fast food tax, the hotel tax, right? So when you come here and you buy something, right, some of this money goes to what is called the A&P Commission, right? And they get the set aside amount of dollars. Then if you want, as a business or whatever, you can apply to get those dollars to advertise, hopefully to bring people here to the city of Conway. So if you put on like a convention or something like that, or hold some type of conference, there's your opportunity to apply to the A&P Commission. You know, it's like a grant almost. You answer a set of questions, the possibility to get some dollars to market, all that kind of stuff. So with the Christmas tree, all right, a set of dollars was applied for through the A&P Commission to pay for that Christmas tree, right? Now, here's the thing about those dollars. Those dollars are designated dollars, so they can only be used for that specific purpose, right? So a lot of people were asking, I remember this, and people were asking me, why can't they use that dollar to like help homeless people and, you know, poverty programs and things like that? And I learned that those dollars could not be used for those things, right? Nonprofits, churches, or whatever, you need to raise the money on your own, okay? Put on fundraisers, or you apply for grants, things like that, okay? You could not use those dollars for social services, if you will, all right? Now, with Conway Arts, right? So they've got this master plan that is gone out, and they want people. You can go on the Survey Monkey, and if you go to my videos, I talk about that. Or you go to the Conway, Arkansas Facebook page, you can find the link. All right, I'm just putting the information out there to you. All right, and you can go and you can give your input regarding arts. Now, if I remember correctly, it's like $50,000 set aside for this. Now, this is not coming from sales tax money or anything like that. Be completely clear. Again, it's like some A&P type money. It's like that type of fund, but it's designated specifically for arts, right? Now, the question becomes, well, what type of art do you want to see like in these roundabouts and things like that? Could be like Lego pieces. Could be like big old boxes. I know the holidays are coming up and they're about to pull out, you know, those little ornament type things, right? So those dollars are specifically designated to that. Now, here's what I'll say. Let me speak to my people, right? My Conway residents. If you want to see more things done, which requires funding, all right, resources to help individuals who are experiencing some type of difficulty, whether that is housing, whether that is food, whether that is health, things like that. The most immediate thing that you can do, right, is get your people together, your friends, family members, and be like, hey, I have this nagging, like that bothers me, right? And I want to support that. I want to address that, excuse me. All right. And so you talk to those family members or friends and tell them what is nagging you and that you want to address it. The second thing you do is this: before starting like an entity or some organization or in everything that goes behind that, find out what other groups are existing here in the city of Conway that are doing that particular thing to addressing that particular nagging thing that is bothering you, okay? Go to that organization, that entity or whatever, and ask, hey, how can I help? Volunteer. How can I help in terms of fundraising, right? How can I help increase your capacity to address this particular need, okay? That is the if you will, the quickest way. And I would make the argument the most meaningful way that you can go about addressing a particular difficulty that is impacting an individual or a group of individuals who are in a particular situation. Okay? Because the next thing you can do is this. All right? I'm going to take the animal shelter that's being discussed here at the county level. There was a group of people at some point in time in the past, right, who got together and were able to get on, established in a county a voluntary tax, right? So that when you pay your property taxes to the man, right, every October, you can also choose voluntarily to put some dollars towards like the animal shelter, right? Now, that voluntary tax, all right, was specified for the building of an animal shelter, not the maintenance and operations, just the building of it. Last report, and I did this last week in my uh, show, that they raised about $1.7 million from a voluntary tax. So another thing that you could do if you are moved by the difficulties that are experienced by a particular individual or group of individuals, that you could reach out to your justice of the peace and see about what is the process about getting a voluntary tax. Keyword voluntary. I love that all day, because there's some people like myself, I have no dog in the hunt regarding like an animal shelter. I just don't. I don't have animals. I'm not particularly favorable of animals, anything like that, nonetheless. But other people are, and so that's their opportunity to support that. So all I'm saying is this. So if you're bothered by how the city is spending money, find out where that money is coming from, and then how is it designated and how it's being spent, right? The second thing is this. If you're seeing something that's not being addressed because it looks like that the city prioritizes like aesthetic and things like that above human concerns, and that's what makes the news and gets the energy, then I would encourage you, have the courage, right, to step up, be like, hey, this is bothering me. I'm going to find out if there's any type of group that is addressing this thing, and I'm going to help increase their capacity. And I hope that's helpful. So thank you for that question. Hey, this is Ask Dr. Phil. If you got a question, hit me up. All right. We will be here till, what time is it? 6 o'clock. We're at Round Mountain Coffee today. Enjoying some Round Mountain white chocolate mocha, extra mocha. All right. Get my sip, and we're going to keep it going. All right. Next question. All right. What advice can you offer my son who wants to join the military? Ooh, yes. I served in the United States Army active duty for 7 years, from August 16th, 2000 to April 4th, 2007. I was both an enlisted 92 Yankee, and then I was combat arms officer, tanks. All right, I was platoon leader, served a host of different places. Great time. Learned a lot. Different places: Fort Sill, Fort Lee, Fort Knox, Fort Benning, Fort Irwin, Camp Gary Owen, different places in Iraq. Great time, great time. Developed a lot of significant friendships and shared experiences that are very unique to military life. During that time, we had one kid prior to going to the military, and we had two in the military. All right. I spent a lot of time away from home. Okay. So if your son that is considering military life, I think at an early age, not having any what they would call dependence is a prime time for him to raise his right hand, to serve his country, defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, foreign and domestic. Yes. I think it's an opportunity for him to learn things like loyalty and duty and respect and self-service and honor and integrity and personal responsibility, perseverance, how to confront very difficult situations, how to learn how to make decisions under very stressful situations. And that heightens depending on the type of military occupational specialty that he would go into. Now I'm speaking from the perspective of the Army. All right. I think other things that he would learn if he is someone who is kind of disorganized and that kind of thing, he'll learn to organize his life, organize his drawer, right? He will learn how to uh, learn what it is to depend on other people and have those individuals depend on him as well. One of these things I like to talk about is you'll get to know what the person to your left and your right, to your front and your rear is doing, and how you relate, how your job relates to those individuals or those particular units. It's also an opportunity. Here's the other thing: you get to like blow up stuff. Like, like I shot tanks, all right, and got to do combined arms exercises with A-10s and Bradleys and infantry units, and had the privilege to shoot big bullets, right? Amazing, awesome things. There are things that happen in the military that are awesome. And I understand, just like in any other entity, you have your good and you have your bad, right? But overall, the military offered something that I found when we left that was like significantly lacking, like in the church. Having a mission, being clear on that mission, all of us headed in the same direction, right? In the midst of executing that mission, holding one another accountable, having opportunities to celebrate the successes in that mission, but also having the opportunities to mourn and grieve when we lost somebody. And I served with individuals whom I trained with and had great times with, especially in Iraq, who did not come back. But it's also an opportunity for you, for him to discover who he is and who she is in those situations. Does it come with trade-offs? It does. It certainly does. Because that mission becomes first, and when the call goes up, you got to go. So, as a young individual who has no dependents, who is single, I believe it's a grand opportunity. If you're going into it already with a loved one or with children, you're giving up. You're giving up a lot. There's a lot of trade-offs, and take those things into consideration. So, that's a great question. Again, this is Ask Dr. Phil. We're just taking questions. We have to move a little bit because the sun just started to move on me. All right. So I'm sitting looking into West Conway, and you ever watch the sunset? It's kind of beautiful. It could be brutal at the same time. Hey, let's keep it going. All right. I'll get through these questions, and then we'll get to the questions that were sent on this feed. So I appreciate those. I saw 2 that came up. All right. So, as a comic book fan, what are your thoughts on the negative reviews of Eternals? Eric. Woo! Eternals. So, Eternals is coming out this coming week, Friday, right? This is, I would say, like the Shang-Chi maybe was like the launch. Shang-Chi was like the prologue to Phase 4. This is like let's get Phase 4 going, right? This is coming out of all the Disney Plus stuff. The Disney Plus stuff is coming out of Endgame, all right? And unless you've been living under the rock, you understand Endgame ended with the Avengers, all the heroes from all the MCU movies coming together to defeat Thanos, resulted in the death of Tony Stark, the death of Natasha Romanoff, the presence of old man Steve. Is he alive or dead? We don't know. right? The only Thor leaving to join with the as Guardians of the Galaxy. Um, Professor Hulk is still there on Earth, and we saw him with Shang-Chi in that post-credit scene. And then Hawkeye, his show is coming out Thanksgiving week, right? So we get to see how he's living in the other side of Endgame. All right, all that to say, so Eternals is coming. Now, Eternals, created by Jack Kirby, all right, are the, if you will, the equivalent to, they're like the mythology of Marvel, right? So if you think of uh, Hercules and Zeus and Hera and all of them, right? Like that type of mythology. These are the gods, right? And they're the Eternals, and they're fighting the deviants. Now, quick fact: Thanos is an Eternal and a deviant, right? He's like half and half, right? So, in the trailers, it was asked like, why didn't y'all fight against Thanos? And they have these reasons why they did not interfere, right? But all that to say, so the cool people got to see an early showing of Eternals, and the Rotten Tomatoes, the score has not been good. Now, people are saying that the reason the score is not good is because of a lot of the switching that has happened. Now, let me be quite clear. I think it is lazy. I think it is disrespectful for writers to go and dishonor the actual existing literature regarding comic books or anything. So they've done gender swaps, they've done sexuality type swaps, and all that kind of thing. I think you have to honor the source material. So if there's no mention in the source material about an Eternal being gay, then you shouldn't do it in the in the movies. You shouldn't. Create a whole new character. Just create a whole new character, right? If in the source material it is a male, then you don't swap out that hero, have the same name but make it a female. No, honor the source material. Just make a new hero. That's kind of my issue with what they've done with Jonathan Kent, what they've done with Jonathan Kent, Superboy. He is Clark Kent and Lois Lane's son in the DC universe. Or Tim Drake. He is the third Robin. All right. But with Eternals, so people are saying these negative reviews are because, it's exposing the toxic individuals. Or is it just possibly it's not just as good, isn't just not a good movie? Could it just be that? Could it just be that? So we would avoid the accusations of people not liking it because they're just being toxic or they're being fill in the blank phobic or anything like that. If you just honor the source material and produce the movie would stand on its own. That's it. But nonetheless, I'm gonna go see it this week. I'm gonna be there, and then I'm gonna give my thoughts on it. I'm gonna give my honest thoughts on it, even with the changes. Okay. Now this is opening up, since they're opening up the Eternals, that opens up a whole new world, I believe, regarding Galactus, Silver Surfer, Star Fox. It can help continue on Guardians of the Galaxy and what's going on with there, and Captain Marvel or the Marvels, which is going to be. So we'll see. We shall see. I am kind of excited. One of my favorite characters as a kid growing up in the comic books was the Black Knight, and he's going to be played by Kit Harington, who was Jon Snow in Game of Thrones. But what I understand is you're not going to see, the Black Knight and all that in Eternals. So I am excited that he's in this movie. He was an Avenger in the early the late 80s, okay? Again, showing my comic book nerdness and all that kind of good stuff. So we shall see. All right, I got it. Critics are always going to be there. Typically, if it's a negative critique, I like it better. Okay, so we shall see. So thanks for the question. All righty, let's get to our on-site questions. Okay, and we got our last 25 minutes, so we got good time here. Again, if you got a question, post. If you want somebody, that probably wants to ask a question, hey, tag them in this. I love to answer their questions. I'm interacting today, and I'm being generous today, giving away gifts. So, Paul, you're going to get a gift. Nicole, you got a gift. Martha, well, that was a statement. But if you got a question, Martha, ask a question. Yeah. So here we go. Paul, what is the one thing that you believe is the biggest departure from biblical marriage and American marriage? What is the one thing that I believe is the biggest departure? It's probably the diminishment of the importance of marriage, period. And that is really, it seems as if it's moved from relationship to contractual to something that makes me feel good. If it doesn't make me feel good, then I can just peace out and go find pleasure in something else. And I say something else. It doesn't have to be someone else. It can simply be something else. So I think that's the biggest departure. I think as well, obviously not everybody holds to a Christian worldview of marriage. All right. And you can go look at some other religions. They have, sometimes I think, some harder stances on marriage. All right. But even there, in particular religions, there are some nuances as well. American culture overall has a significant impact on religious life. And I don't care what religious life it is, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Islam, any of the other ones. There's such we don't want to admit it, but there is such a intermarriage between religious life and American life, all right, that it's the religious life that actually suffers. Is that by design? I don't know. Does it have to do with one of these bedrock principles about freedom? Possibly. Is it the possibility because, the state does not put its stamp on this is the religious belief that is to be practiced and affirmed by all citizens? That's possible. It's possible. So I think it's the move from it's a relationship to contractual to it's just something I can be involved with, and if I don't like it, then I'm out. And I'm just out. So thanks for the question, Paul. I'll be hitting you up for your gift. All right. Nicole asked, are you concerned about the direction of our nation now? Yes. No. Yes, I am. So I have long maintained, going back to President Obama's second term and looking out the voting pattern of the nation, I asked myself, why can't our nation just split up into 5 or 6 nations? Because back then I was seeing you got blues along the coasts, you got more red in the middle and down near the south, right? It's kind of in the Midwest, upper Midwest, all right? And so why not move towards Africa is a continent of 50 some odd countries. Europe is made up these multiple countries. And I was saying that back during President Barack Obama's starting of his second term. Fast forward, you had the advent of President Donald Trump. Woo! It became even more clear. And then with the election of President Joe Biden, whoo! It's even more clear, right? What I would hope to avoid, and I'm thinking long term for my grandchildren, right? I would prefer a peaceful divorce than what could possibly be the alternative. So that's my first concern. My second concern is our treatment of one another. More specifically, this zeal for ideological purity. And that if you do not hold this particular ideology, or you do not hold to this particular practice, then you are to be cut off from your livelihood, meaning your employment. All right. You could be cut off from your family. You could be simply just cut off from participating in society. And we're seeing that. And no more has that become more evident than what has happened with two specific things. One, what would happen in the summer of 2020 with the death of George Floyd and this whole advent of, and I'm coming here, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what all that entails, and critical race theory, the academic, and the praxis that is manifesting not only in universities, but also in K through 12, but then also in nonprofits and for-profit businesses. And that has painted individuals that if they have a particular phenotypic characteristic, namely white, they're immediately held guilty. But then also that it has made those who do not have the phenotypic characteristic of whiteness, all right, those who are non-white, as in this perpetual state of victimhood. And I'm no victim. No white man is keeping me down. And I look at you sideways if you call me a minority, if you say that the white man is inhibiting me in any way from doing what that I want to do. So there's that. The second thing, the ideological purity, is what has happened in terms of the whole COVID situation and how the goalpost keeps moving and how people are treating one another, whether they're masked or unmasked, vaccinated, unvaccinated. All right. How businesses are treating employees whom they once celebrated at one particular time. Now they've given this demand that if they don't, then you got to go. And this is setting up a situation where it continually divides us negatively. And at the same time, there are individuals who are benefiting from it politically and economically. And it remisses me that it has also influenced church behavior, religious thought, and then more importantly, how it is manifested in families. So, am I concerned about the direction of our nation? Yes, I am. I think what we need is actually more individuals to be courageous, to stand up, and to speak their mind. I think it's important for more individuals to stand up and say, hey, you know what? You're right. I don't belong here. I'm going to go start my own thing. I think it's important for individuals who determine to leave on their terms, whatever that is, to then find other like-minded individuals and say, hey, let's start this business or this or this or this, and let's provide an alternative. And let's do it courageously. Let's do it bravely. Let's do it creatively. And let's do it in such a way that it offers individuals an alternative. I think one of the reasons we've arrived at this particular spot is because we have found ourselves in a state where we have a lot of individuals who have prioritized the short-term benefit, all right, instead of looking at the long-term possibilities. And the long-term possibilities actually come with more difficulty. They do. It's going to require more discipline and more courage. But then also people are looking at, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to give up something that I've spent 5, 10 years studying for. And I'm completely sympathetic to that. I don't want to not be excluded from a particular family gathering. Thanksgiving is coming up, or whatever your Christmas or whatever your religious holiday that you're celebrating at this time of the year. And I understand that. But those are short-term things that in the long term, if more people continue to acquiesce to the group, if we continue to acquiesce to and just simply conform, we're going to look up one day and something worse is going to come about. And at that point, it's going to be too late. So those are my concerns. Great question. Martha asks, how do you suggest we get the church back to the main mission as opposed to the splintered method we have now? Oh, that's interesting, Martha. Well, I'll tell you honestly, and I'm not a Protestant, you have to owe the splintered method to the guy that Protestants are celebrating today. All right. So when Martin Luther went and nailed his 95 Thesis, essentially a declaration, if you will, of independence against the Catholic Church and the Pope, right? And I got it, they had their issues, right? And he nailed his 95 Thesis on the Wittenberg door, right? What you talk about, the splintered method, that's when there it is, right? Instead of if you will, submitting to the vicar of Christ, the Pope, right? Now I can make the argument now today, well, specifically in America, we have many popes running all over the place. Senior pastor, right? The pastor, lead elder, so on and so forth, right? So one, it is a recognition, and I think this is where it's going to be helpful for both those who are Catholic and those who are Protestant. It is the enunciation of the creed. And I've gone through that whole thing before. I'm talking about the Nicene Creed, right? And enunciating that every time you gather. And that is what unites. I don't care whether you're Protestant and all that's underneath that, or you're Catholic and what's all underneath that. That unites us. That creed about who the Father is, who the Son is, who the Holy Spirit is, and what the church is to look forward to. Next, the church, the church on the left, right? So I'm talking like the Episcopal Church, the Methodist Church, those churches that tend toward the left, right? They need to walk away from politics. So if you're a church that tends toward the left, you need to walk away from Bernie Sanders, AOC, all of that kind of stuff. All of those individuals. Walk away from them. Don't allow them to speak in your churches. Nothing like that. All right? And the same thing I say to those who are on the right. You need to walk away from all them individuals, politicians that want to come speak in your church as well, who vote typically Republican, the pro-life type politicians. If they're going to come speak in their church, the reason they come and speak in your church is they about to open that book and read "Thus saith the Lord," not "Thus saith the political platform of the Republican or Democrat or Libertarian or Democratic Socialist of America or Tea Party or MAGA." No, "Thus saith the Lord." I think every church needs to take down every United States of American flag out of the church building. That's where we can get started, right? And then let me get a little bit more deeper, all right? Every church, whether the left or the right, because the left and the right both suffer from this. How you take dollars and you build these grand buildings. And then you turn around and say, why can't we help the poor or the homeless or feed people? Well, how about you sell the building, take the profits from that building, and go help those individuals? And I'm saying that to churches on the left and the right because both of them suffer from that. Take those offerings and use those offerings to help people who are in need. Reduce your staffs of your churches. Have those individuals, those men and women, go back and get a regular job, right? And go from there. And guess what? You have more money again to do the work of the church. So, Martha, I hope that helps. I've offered a few suggestions, but there are suggestions that upset the apple cart. But here's the thing, though. This is the crazy thing, right? Here's the irony. And I'm speaking to my Protestant churches, right? You celebrate today a man who put it all on the line. He said, unless he can be convinced by scripture, right? He can do it's there, he stands, right? He stood on the scripture. He was convinced and was ready to lose it all for what he believed. So if this is the man that you're celebrating today, and he was willing to walk away from all of his comfort and his standing, okay? When will the church in America do the exact same thing? And I'm speaking to the Protestant right now because you're putting up this man. I put him up at one time. I was a Protestant at one time. All right. So if you're going to celebrate this man for doing that, and it was ripple effects across Western Europe and then eventually into America and across the world, right? Is the church in America, what's going to be its, if you will, Reformation moment? What's going to be its 95 Thesis moment? Will it be no politician is ever going to come in and give a political speech ever again in our churches? That could be a Reformation moment. We're going to sell all our buildings. That could be a Reformation moment. Take down every American flag out of our facilities. That could be a Reformation moment. I don't know. I don't stand in judgment, just asking questions. And I won't, because I am no one to judge the Lord's servant. So, hey, that has been coming at the end of this. The light is hitting. Oh, that light is beautiful. Man, it's a picture. Anyways, so thank you for joining me today for Ask Dr. Phil. Thank you for all the great questions. Martha, please inbox me so I can make sure to get you a gift. All right. Paul as well, so I can deliver it to you personally. And all those that send in questions as well, be getting your gifts to you. So, hey, as always, remember, comedy show coming up Wednesday, November 10th, 2021. You can purchase tickets at uca.universitytickets.com. Love to see you there. All proceeds are going towards our Hope Village project. And it's your opportunity to support a great event. All right. Hey, you want to join me and support me on Patreon? All right. Just look up Philip Fletcher, Humanity Matters. Appreciate the support. All right. A lot of great content coming out over there. All right. And catch me on any of the social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, on the websites. Greatly appreciate it. Some changes are coming over on that website. So I'm excited about that. The changes that are coming up moving forward in what I am doing. So I'll be looking forward to that. Hey, when you go to my website, you'll see a box that comes up, and put your name and address in there. You'll be able to keep up with all the good stuff. All right. So as always, remember to be loved, to be kind, and to be generous, and to be courageous. And if we remember to live in hope, we can do the impossible. Y'all take care. God bless. Hey, if you found something of value, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Find us on Facebook at Dr. Philip Fletcher. Find us on Twitter at Phil Fletcher. And as always, visit us on the website philipfletcher.org.